Booyah!
Hey guys, how's it going? I am here today to play once again as the Pyro in TF2, and today I'm here to talk about the secondary Pyro weapons, which in my opinion, for more veteran players, not including myself because I am not that great at Pyro. I'm pretty good, but I'm not exactly I'm no Huey Lewis or any real good actual Pyro player who could kick my ass in a second. I'm average, but I can still give my opinion on each of the Pyro weapons because I think that each one does have a certain niche to them, and you have to kind of get into the niche in order to know which Pyro weapon to use. And in my opinion, the Pyro secondary weapons are about as important as the primary weapons, especially for people who use stuff like the degreaser, where you like constantly change in order to create kind of combos for a Pyro. Like, if you don't WM1, you will be using your secondary quite a lot for different occasions. Like, although the shotgun isn't used very often, like in this video, other weapons are constantly taken out after a certain weapon just to use in conjunction with the first weapon. Like, for example, the degreaser with the flare gun, which is constantly used. As well as that, there is the there is the reserve shooter with air blasting. All of that works, but before I get into this, I want to explain that I am not going to talk about the shotgun, because the shotgun is not that it's better than every other weapon. In fact, there are, in my opinion, better options than the shotgun for different uses. But the thing is, the shotgun, in my opinion, is the most boring weapon to talk about, because it's just a shotgun. There's no perks, there's no disadvantages, there's nothing really to talk about. It's a shotgun. If you like the use of projectiles and shotguns, and you like having the classic 6 shots in a shotgun, go for it. It's really just your choice. Like, if you like just using the shotgun, use the shotgun. It isn't like there's a certain way to use it. It's just a shotgun. Anyway, I said shotgun way too often there, but I must get on to the video. So on to the video. Getting into my first weapon, probably one of my favorites is the flare gun. Now, the flare gun is a very, very simple concept. It's just a projectile weapon that's used in conjunction with the Pyro, which basically fires flares that do 30 damage. But there's a few really cool perks to the flare gun over the shotgun, for example. Firstly, the flare gun lights people on fire, which in many cases is an incredibly useful trait, because it is very, very useful to light people on fire when you're far away from them. Because, let's be honest, the main weakness of a Pyro are classes that can cause large amounts of damage far away, like snipers. So if you can hit a flare on a sniper from far away, they're pretty vulnerable because they're going to find it harder to hit their shots. Secondly, you can use the flare's second most popular ability, which is where if you hit a flare on an enemy who's already on fire, instead of lighting them on fire, it does 90 damage, i.e. crit damage. Pretty freaking good, because it leaves a lot of combos to be used. For example, one of the most common combos I've seen among Pyros who know what they're doing is light them on fire, air blast them in the air so they're vulnerable, and then flare them once. That does 130 damage usually, give or take a little bit depending on how much fire you put on them. But that is always enough to kill a scout, sometimes a medic. Usually they can get away for a second, but the fire damage usually kills them. You can kill an NG, you can kill a spy, you can kill a sniper. Most lower health classes, it can kill pretty damn fast. Its main weakness, which is probably why I wouldn't always use the flare gun, is against other Pyros, because its two main abilities, as I just said, is the crits and the ability to light someone on fire from far away. Pyros take away both of those. Because the Pyro's natural ability is they can't be lit on fire, full stop, it means that first ability is useless, and without lighting someone on fire, the 90 damage can never be caused. Now, I've seen some crazy reflexes from good Pyros who literally, in the second it takes the Pyro's suit to put it out, I've seen people like in that millisecond fire a flare and do 90 damage, although it is utterly impossible to do. I can't do it. I know so many Pyros who can't do it. It's a very, very rare ability. In fact, I'd say it's more luck. It's like the reflexes of a god people do that, and it's just not worth it, really. It makes it very, very hard against Pyros. For that reason, if it's a Pyro heavy pub and you just don't want to put up with this many Pyros, don't use the flare gun. The flare gun is probably the least versatile weapon against Pyros for that reason. But otherwise, if Pyros are pretty sparse and far between, it is incredibly effective against every other class, which is still pretty cool. Next up on the list, we have the reserve shooter. Now, the reserve shooter is a shotgun. Let's be honest, it's basically a shotgun with a few differences that makes it a lot better, in my opinion, than the normal shotgun. Well, actually, no, I'll explain. Basically, you have -2 in your clip, which For some, that's terrible, that's detrimental, which is the main reason why people go for the normal shotgun over this weapon, because mostly a lot of people can't actually last with less than 6 in a clip because they're so used to it. They're just so used to having 6 in a clip and they can't last with less. And really, I get it. It actually can be quite difficult in many situations if you're in the middle and they're in the middle of the air and you have no ammo in your shotgun and suddenly you're in shit creek because you can't mini quit them. It's just it can be difficult at times. The main perks it has is it's a plus 33% change speed, so combined with the degreaser, you're basically the scooty changey man who just can change your weapons unbelievably fast, like way too fast, just not even funny. What it also leaves opening for is that you can use your flamethrower a bit more, as in like the default flamethrower, which causes more damage because you actually can change fast enough so that you can use the normal flamethrower. The final main perk this weapon has is its ability to mini crit. If a character is airborne, it will mini crit if you hit them in the air. This is actually surprisingly effective and impressive. This is what makes it, in my opinion, better than a flare gun if you have a good aim with a shotgun. Because if you face pyros, the issue where pyros aren't affected by it is no longer there. You can actually fight pyros pretty dang easily. In fact, most pyros are completely helpless to your shots because they're in the air. You don't have to let them on fire, and you can just mini crit them in the air and they're dead in like a second, pretty much. As well as that, it works very well in conjunction to soldiers, because if they aim at you with their rocket launcher, you can deflect their rocket. While they're in the air, you can hit them with the shotgun, and it's usually a one-hit kill. So for certain classes, it actually works better than the flare gun, but for others, it doesn't work as well. It really is a matter of, do you like lighting people on fire more, or putting them in the air more? Really, they work in both situations. As well as that though, there aren't many situations, unless there's a lot of other pyros in the team, where you would use the flare gun outside of it. On the other hand, for the reserve shooter, it's completely different, because for the reserve shooter, they can be in the air, they can just simply jump, and it will cause a mini crit. For that reason, it actually comes in handy a lot more times than you might think. And in that way, in my opinion, it's probably one of my favorites, but as I already said, the flare gun is definitely better than in some situations, and the shotgun is definitely better for people who can't handle 4 shots, because you're pretty much constantly reloading after you kill someone. And for some people, that is unideal. Right, I'm going to go through the other flare guns very, very quickly, because personally I don't think they're as useful as either the flare gun, the reserve shooter, or the shotgun, but they do have their niche uses. Scorch Shot's a very, very unique weapon because it doesn't give the same damage output that the flare gun does, therefore not having the same insta-kill ability that the flare gun has. It does about 45 damage if they're already on fire, and about 15 if they're not on fire, and it still lights them on fire. The main gimmick going around it is the fact that it can push enemies back, similarly to how an air blast can, but far away. The main issue I have with this though is it's not effective enough to be considered a permanent replacement. The pushback isn't that good, like it isn't loose cannon good, not even close. It's pretty good, and it does the job, but it's not, I wouldn't spend more than a few minutes remarking on it. Like, it's certainly good if you want to mess around and just push people back and just piss them off generally, but if you want a good damage output, it's generally not as good as the flare gun, or really some other good options for the pyro secondary weapon. For that reason, unless I'm dicking around with air blast and just want to keep it going from a long range, I would rarely use the Detonator actually does have a bit more of a usefulness to it. Although once again, yes, it doesn't have the same damage output. It does, however, give you something that no other pyro secondary can give you. It gives you a jumping ability akin to a sticky jump or a rocket jump. Now, of course, not even close to as big a jump. I can barely get up a rock with it. If your timing is right, you can get up a pretty big rock, but it's not as big as a rocket jump, not even close. But it's still quite a big jump, and it's quite a lot higher than a normal pyro can get. And it can prove useful in most situations. The damage output is alright, it's pretty good, although probably the main good use it has is if you don't use the flare gun heavily, but you like to get in those hard to reach places and just know you can piss people off in the most unexpected of places, because it works in that one situation, as in if there's an engineer up and he's setting up and you wanted to take him by surprise by jumping up after him, you can do that, and you can jump up after him, you can kill all this stuff, kill him very, very quickly, and you're gone. In fact, I think this weapon is actually better with the default flamethrower, because really you don't use this as a combo weapon. You can't use it. It doesn't have enough damage output, but it can bring you to those hard to reach places. So you can take out your flamethrower or the backburner even, get behind them, flank them, and just be a general dickhead. Probably the biggest advantage of a detonator, and the main reason I'd ever use it, is for its detonate jump ability, and some people can very, very easily utilize that. Last and probably least, we have the Manmelter. In my opinion, the Manmelter is the least useful out of all of these weapons, purely because it does not exist as a useful weapon outside of the Phlogistonator. The Phlogistonator, as you may know, has no air blast capabilities and instead gives you crits on an oomph meter. This gives you even more capabilities of a crits and gives you a sort of pseudo feeling of air blast, which you do not get from the Phlogistonator. What I mean by that is, when you right click on a teammate who is on fire, it extinguishes them and you get a free crit. So it basically supports the whole get crits for everything with the Phlogistonator, and makes it so that you will extinguish your teammates, which some people don't actually do with default flamethrowers. So it really is good in that sense. It's good to get free crits, and as well as that, to be able to extinguish your teammates even when you're using the Flog. In my opinion, this weapon is completely useless outside the Flog, but when you are using the Flog, I think you should use it. I think it's actually a very, very good weapon, but only if you're using the Flog. Otherwise, don't use it, no matter what you are doing. Anyway, that's it. That's all the weapons in my opinion. I should have gotten across already which ones I think were good, which ones are bad. Most of them are pretty good, most of them do their job, and the only ones that really don't do anything apart from outside their specific use is the Manmelter, even though the Manmelter certainly does have its use with the Phlogistonator, but with the Phlogistonator only. Anyway, that's all we want to talk about. This was the Pyro secondary weapons, and hopefully you learned something from this, and hopefully it'll give you an idea of which one to use in the future. Anyway, I'll see you next time. If you liked what you saw, then I'll see you next time. If you didn't like what you saw, then I won't do it next time. Feel free to like and subscribe. Bye.